materials list, you're going to want to work in a well-ventilated area, especially with the sealant part. I am outside on a covered porch. I've taken an old desk. I imagine you can find one probably like at a thrift store. It doesn't have to be huge like this. I got lucky. And I just put an old garbage bag and tacked it up against the side of the house so that I would have an area to plasti-dip things. Normally the plasti-dip and the sealer are the two parts you're going to want the ventilation the most. The paint's not so much. It's not aerosol, it doesn't go anywhere. First thing you want to do with any sword is make it ready. You do that by buying your painter's tape. This will come off really well. It usually doesn't damage the foam or peel anything off that you might want. So this is going to go everywhere that you don't want to paint. If you're using an old sword, and then you have to strip the old plasti-dip off of it, I recommend the Goof Off and the rubbing alcohol. Both of these things will help get off old plasti-dip so you can start a new project. If you have a fresh sword that's like new from the manufacturer, you may want to rub it down with this, just because sometimes it's a little bit oily and the plasti-dip doesn't stick well. Speaking of plasti-dip, here are the main colors I normally use. If I'm going to work on like a goblin iron nature, I'll usually do the red. Silver weapons, I do white. Elven steel, of course, I do black. And any other colors like green or whatever else, I use gray. If you have dipping plasti-dip, which I don't like to use, but maybe you do, I would recommend one of these little brushes. Over here, you're going to want probably acrylic paint. It's the most commonly used paint that I use the most of. It's easy. If you mess up, you can always add some water to it and it comes off with no problem. So speaking of acrylics, here's some big tubes I have, but I also have an assortment of all these other colors that I use for various projects. You can get cool things like metallic, you can get color shifts, you can get glitter, pretty much anything you want. It's at most of your craft stores, sometimes Walmart. Walmart tends to have lesser quality paint, in my opinion. A lot of times for me it comes out too thin and I have to do multiple coats. With the good stuff that I buy, like at any craft store, usually only 1 or 2 coats is good enough. You can also get cool little doohickey paint pens, like this one here. I got this at a craft store, and you can do really cool fine designs. You also have silver, you got a lot of colors. You'll want a terry cloth or an old washcloth so that when you're done cleaning off your paintbrush, you can go down and dab it over here before going into your paint tray. I think I got a big roll of these for maybe $6. Paintbrushes. So these are the most common sizes that I use the most of. This one's made by Premier. It is a size 12 Premier paintbrush. That's for bigger areas. For finer details, this is a size 14 Premier. And then for lines and small crevices, this is a really small brush. It has a very long tip on it. It's good for doing like swirlies and stuff. Paint tray. Again, this is made by Premier. They make pretty good stuff that's inexpensive. I think I paid $1.50 for like 3 of these things. I like to mix my paint in them a lot, get pretty colors. They're also really good like when you're plasti dipping. If you don't have something to raise the sword off of a surface, you can always turn one of these over and put it right on top. I also recommend for your brushes this stuff called the Master's Brush Cleaner. It comes in a little container. You can get it probably at most craft stores. The inside is just like a white color, smells kind of like citronella. Just add a little water, swirl your brush around inside, it gets soapy. You can clean it in the water. It definitely preserves your brushes for a long time. Sealing and last minute things. There's a lot of things going around about sealing. You might have heard by now that through the roof is no longer good. This is very true. I have had to redo several weapons because the through the roof now peels and cracks and flakes. I have then since tried this Plasti Dip Glossifier. It seems to work fairly well. It still has a little issue with cracking. They also have something called Rust-Oleum 2X. It comes in a spray can. It is also white and blue. That works pretty well, but above all, this stuff right here is what you want if you can get your hands on it. Called Super Frog Juice. No idea if that number works. Tried it once, did not work. It's kind of hard to find. Definitely worth it though if you can get it. It's meant for vinyl signs. It's waterproof, UV proof. It's good. If you use something and it gets too tacky, a very light coat of any old boot spray will work. I rarely use this, but if I find that something is too tacky, I'll do a light coat of that. Now, if you have a sword and the handle is completely falling apart and you don't have any type of a leather wrap, I recommend this. This is like heavy-duty electrical professional grade tape. I got this at Lowe's, and as you can see, it's like a very thick black electrical tape. It's pretty squishy. And I just take this and I wrap it around a hilt as best as I can. It does stretch, it does mold to the shape of the handle, so it's very good to use in my opinion. So this is what the original design looked like. The owner of this sword wants a different design.